All right. Let me send this tweet out before we get started. Great day yesterday. If you were following along, that was a good day to start. We had several brutal beats the day before. Going 3-3, 4-3. That's when you're picking a lot of matches. It's going 1-0 is so much better than going 4-3 or 3-3. It's just tennis. There's so many matches, and you really only need to pick one, maybe two, to keep it going. But yesterday we started 5-1. We have two matches from yesterday that are in progress. But let me get this tweet out. Man, sometimes Twitter pops up the link with the image, and sometimes it just shows a link. I don't know what the deal is. If anyone can help me with that, I would be very appreciative. I'm using the headphones today. Let me know if you can't hear me. I'm going to assume you can hear me. Let me know if you can't. But yeah, I wanted to rock the headphones today and see if it's just better audio quality for YouTube. I've got garbage trucks and shipping trucks and stuff coming up. I live on a hill, so when a garbage truck comes up the hill, man, you can't hear anything for 30 seconds. So I wanted to do the headphones to try and get some better audio quality. All right, cool. We got 5 people watching now, so we can get started. I'll probably give it a little time to breathe before we get in the matchups, just see if anyone else hops on. But yeah, if you're watching this later on YouTube, go ahead and fast forward to 3-4 minutes, and you'll find yourself in the matchup breakdown section. But before we break down the matches from yesterday and the ones coming up today, I wanted to talk a little bit about rain delays. You love them and you hate them. If you have a pre-match pick and your guy's up and he's in a rain delay, it fucking sucks, man. It's there's nothing good about it whatsoever. But it's important to monitor the rain delay situations. And typically in Australia, you're never dealing with rain delays. But it's been raining in Melbourne and Sydney, so yeah, I mean, it's important to monitor them. And if you see a guy and if you see the court is completely soaked, they're going to go to the locker room, they're going to get an hour break at least. If you see a guy who, use your good judgment, obviously, don't bet on a massive underdog, who's down already and it's a rain delay. But if you have a guy like Karatsev versus Khachanov was a perfect example yesterday. And we definitely got a little lucky. With Karatsev, we had him -2.5 over Khachanov, and he was down 4-2 in the first, and then there was an hour-long rain delay, and he's sitting there live, man. He's sitting there live now. He's down 4-2, and he wasn't that big of a favorite to start. So you got Karatsev sitting there plus 160 to win the match, and it's a rain delay, and he's got a good matchup advantage already. It's just a no-brainer. Another good example was Vukic versus Medvedev at Wimbledon. Medvedev was taking him, it wasn't killing him, but Medvedev was all borderline dominating Vukic. He was in no danger of losing the match, and then huge rain delay. They come back the next day and finish, and Vukic kills him. So, use your good judgment, but keep an eye out for these rain delays, because from a player, after playing tennis my whole life and, betting on tennis for 5 years, there is not one single positive thing when you're winning that comes from a rain delay. Not a one. Nothing. Absolutely nothing positive comes if you're winning, or if you're the guy you bet on is up a set or up a break, and then they have to leave the court and come back. It really is two different matches. I mean, the start of a match is so important that if you start poorly, you get a chance to regroup, assess what was working, what wasn't working, and come out and just start over. And if you disagree, please let me know. If you think that something positive can come from a player being up and then being forced to stop and leave the court, please let me know and we can talk about it. But there's nothing good that comes from a rain delay if your player is winning. Nothing whatsoever. It's awful all the way around. There's dozens of negatives, zero positive. And Karatsev was down 4-2 to Khachanov. I was on him pre-match, so I didn't bet anything, but I had a bunch of people texting me, asking me, for picks later on. And I was just like, bro, take Karatsev. Like, he's down a break, and it's a rain delay. They're off the court right now. Take Karatsev. Karatsev comes out, breaks him twice, wins the set 7-5, and you get a nice little live dog, which is super important. So there's 2 matches we broke down yesterday that haven't played yet. Worst case scenario, we go 5-3, which is still a solid day. We're 5-1 right now from yesterday, which is nice. Don't ever expect that, don't ever expect, to hit that rate moving forward. But when it does happen, especially after you bet on Lloyd Harris to beat Sun Woo Kwon, it's nice. It's good. So spirits are good right now. I hope you guys made some money with me yesterday. That's the goal. The goal has always been and always will be to grow the game of tennis through sports betting and hopefully, win some people some nice, easy money during these times, these difficult times. But yeah, tennis is the best sport in the world to bet on just because of the volume perspective and all the live underdog opportunities you have. And I truly believe that betting is going to save the sport of tennis. We already see it right now with Tennis TV. Betting streams have every single match crystal clear, and Tennis TV is only showing 1 or 2 here and there. And it sucks, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that the betting companies are paying Tennis TV not to show certain matches so people will, and that's why we're here. So we're here so you can place a bet, you can watch the match on the betting stream and win money while you're watching it. So that's the goal. So 2 matches yesterday. Maxime Cressy, he was going back and forth between -2 and -2.5 games. I wasn't really sure the reason for that, but I still think that Cressy -2 or -2.5 over Dusan Lajovic is a great play. Cressy's just in the zone. The rain not playing yesterday, it's great for him because it gives him, he's played a lot of tennis recently. It gives him a time to rest, reset, stretch. And this guy stretches like, it's a lot like Djokovic, how much this guy stretches. He stretches and prepares harder than anyone. I've been at several challengers where he was in the draw, and he was always doing something, whether he was meditating, whether he was, deep stretching, working out, warming up in the gym. Like, a lot of players sit there, they'll chill out, they'll shoot the shit. Not him. Maxime Cressy is there for one goddamn specific reason, and that is to win the tournament. And for so long, it looked like delusion. Like, oh, this guy takes himself way too seriously. He's not that good. Thought he was delusional for so long. But now he looks like a genius because the way he's playing tennis, he's just absolute nightmare to play right now. And he's beating people from the baseline. I've seen him hit like 8 backhand return clean winners on break points in the last 2 tournaments. And if he's doing that, it's just demoralizing to play him. So I still think Cressy, if you can get on that -2.5, I think that's a fine bet. Lajovic is not improving right now. I think Lajovic is a pretty solid fade in general. And you got a guy who's one of the hottest players on tour. He's in the absolute zone. He got a day off. He's stretching, meditating, preparing. I think it's a good bet. Still, the balls are lively. The courts are fast. It's a good scenario for him. The other match is Roman Safwien over Chris Eubanks in qualies. I told you to jump on that yesterday at -2. Hopefully you got that. If not, it's -3 now. I would still consider it, but taking -3 games against a guy like Eubanks who's going to hit 15, 20 aces is risky. -2 I like. But I just think that Safwien is going to expose him from the baseline. we talked about this, and I've talked to some players too that were in Knoxville when Chris Eubanks won the Knoxville Challenger. These players were shocked at how slow and gritty and high bouncing the court was playing. And we saw Eubanks have tremendous success at Indian Wells, where the slowest, grittiest hard courts of all time. He loves it. It helps his kick serve. It helps his one-handed backhand. It helps his forehand because he gets to, that ball hits the court. It skids. It doesn't skid. It grabs the grit and the saw and the sandpaper and shit, and it just sits up on a tee. And the balls fluff up too when the court's super gritty. The balls fluff up, and that is huge for Eubanks too, because then that gives him that little extra margin for error. It's a lot harder to miss a shot when the ball is fluffy on this gritty, slow court. So it's moving slow, the ball is light and fluffy, and it just helps Eubanks a tremendous amount when it is super slow. But these courts in Melbourne are not slow. They are very fast, and I think that, Seflin is gonna expose him from the ground. Like, if this guy's rushing Denis Shapovalov and Yannick Sinner with his movement and his power and his consistency from the baseline, I still like the line at -3. All right, let's get on. Let's break down the matchups here. Today's a much tougher slate. After a day like yesterday, no reason to bet all these matches. Watch them, look for good spots live. I'll give you guys a couple plays, but I got to be honest with you, I'm not feeling tremendously confident about any of them. I think there's a couple interesting underdogs here. But let's start. Karen Khachanov versus Arthur Rinderknech. Karen Khachanov is -3 games. I think this is once again a pretty solid line. If this was 3.5, if it moves to 3.5, I would hop on Rinderknech plus games. But with Karen's serve and his physicality and Rinderknech's very suspect return game, I think any play on this, a Rinderknech plus spread or a Khachanov minus spread, is just inviting a little bit too much risk into your life. I would not overreact to Rinderknech's second and third 6-3, 6-2 beatdown over Kwon Soon Woo. Kwon is not that good. He is a great ball striker. He's a great mover, but he's not a great tennis player. He's not that mentally tough. He chokes a lot on big points. And 100 to 60 in the world, totally fine. But when he's playing guys in the top 50 consistently, Kwon Soon Woo's serve is not good enough to trust him to win these matches, because a guy like Rinderknech yesterday, he had 20 aces, and Kwon has a handful of unreturned serves, but his serve is not that good. People can return his first serve just fine. They have no problem with his second serve. And if you've got a guy who's got a great serve like Rinderknech playing a guy like Kwon, it is just so much easier for the big server to win those matches because they can afford to take risks on the return. This is nothing new, but it is by far my most profitable strategy, is betting on players who are A, in good form, and B, they're going to get 15 to 20 more free points on serve. That is a strategy that's not going to go anywhere. That is a tried and true strategy in tennis betting. Free point disparity in tennis is extremely, extremely important. So, look, Karen Khachanov is, for these books, he's the easiest guy in the world to price because he's got a huge serve. He's a very solid player. He's very fit. So they just make him -3, like a 6-4 all the time. A 6-4 is just a typical Karen Khachanov spread, and it's tough to bet either way. So look, he's easy to price, but he's tough to bet just because sometimes he's amazing and sometimes he's a massive choke. So that's what I think about that matchup. I'm probably not going to be involved there. Like I said, if it moves to 3.5, I think plus games to Rinderknech is a solid bet. But anything other than that, if Rinderknech was missing some returns into the back fence, when it's just if somebody's giving Karen a decent amount of free points with errors, it's going to be tough. All right, moving on. Tommy Paul versus Marin Cilic. So this is going to be a good match. I definitely think TP can cause problems for Cilic with his movement and shot making. UTR, their matchup statistics give Cilic a decent advantage. There's no question Cilic is in form, but betting against a guy like Tommy Paul with his talent level is always a little scary. Marin Cilic, the spread is -1. I don't think that's the worst play in the world, just because Paul's level goes up and down so much throughout the course of a match. If Cilic starts hot and Tommy Paul is still kind of working his way into the match, there's a good chance Cilic can win, a 6-3 set or a 6-2 set, even if Tommy Paul's serve isn't firing. Cilic -1 gives you, first of all, if Cilic wins the match, -1 is going to hit. But Cilic -1 gives you a chance at a push or even a cover, and he could still lose the match, because Tommy Paul could beat him 2 tiebreaks. Cilic's not an easy guy to break. I think this is one you probably just sit back and enjoy the tennis and monitor Tommy's effort and intensity and see if there's any good live spots that pop up. Pre-match betting this is tough. If I had to pick, I think Cilic -1 is a decent play, but once again, it's a good match. It's a fun matchup, and it's a lot of times the best matchups are the ones that are most difficult to predict. All right, next up, here's a bet I like, but full disclosure, I haven't seen Corentin Moutet play a full match. I was watching him against Jere, the one he got defaulted. And he didn't look that great in that matchup, but you can't really argue with his recent results and his recent scoreline. So Corentin Moutet is -2.5 games over Thiago Monteiro. Monteiro beat Monfils via default yesterday. We talked about that yesterday. I liked Monteiro +4.5 games. I didn't, want to bet it, but I really believe that you definitely should not bet on Monfils -4.5 games coming off of the title. He had some fun. He took a couple days off for sure at this stage in his career. So Moutet just beats Jan-Lennard Struff 4-2, and he beat Marton Fucsovics 2-2. You don't happen upon major beatdowns against great athletes with huge serves like that. So clearly Moutet's got something cooking. Thanks to Tennis TV, I obviously wasn't able to watch anything of his matches. They don't have it on replay. They don't have it at all. But I think that this is worth a small play just based on the results and score lines recently. I'm a huge believer in watching someone play before you place a bet on him. And I haven't watched, multiple full Moutet matches this year, but the talent's there. The speed's there. And once again, we have a matchup, Monteiro versus a fast, crafty counterpuncher. What do we got here? How about Safin -1 sets +109 instead of -2.5? It's possible. Let's see, -1.5 sets. Yeah, I like that bet too. I think that's some good value. I really do think Roman Safin's gonna win this match pretty easily. These courts are fast. Chris Eubanks does not like a fast court. He needs a slower court. And Safin, what he showed in ATP Cup, he got an extra day's rest. He's got to be feeling pretty solid. I think this is a pretty good match. -3, -121. That's getting pretty rich. So, but clearly the money's flowing in on Safin there. I personally don't like betting set spreads. I see the value in them every day, but I am not the best at betting set spreads. I don't have that much success doing it. I have much more success with these small game spreads, like a -2.5. That's 2.5 -151. That's too rich. If I was in that scenario, I would just take the -3, -121 instead of -1.5 sets, because that one's tricky. That's a good question. Good question, Paul. But I personally, I would do the -3 there, small. minus 1.5 sets. You just see so often these guys, take a set to get warmed up. It's just, yeah, I don't like betting on set spreads that much. But on guys like Jannik Sinner, who are just impossible to bet pre-match, I think there's something to be said for them. But yeah, I can't. I don't like. I don't like betting set spreads. All right, let's get back to Moutet versus Monteiro. So I liked Nishioka against Monteiro to a degree because of the matchup, because Monteiro is a super aggressive baseliner. Every forehand he gets, he's going to crack it, but he doesn't finish at net very well, and he's not very clutch. He's not very good with the lead. Monteiro plays much better from behind when there's no pressure. So I think I'm going to be on Moutet minus 2.5 for a tiny bit. We had a great day yesterday. We're not going to go blow it all on these tough matches today. Kenny Ducey, he's a very solid capper for a lot of sports, but he's solid at tennis. He picks his spots very well. He likes Monteiro. He can't, fade him right now, but I told him that I can fade him for him. So I'm going to be fading Monteiro for my boy Kenny, and we'll see how that goes. Next up, Alexander Vukic versus Thanasi Kokkinakis. This matchup I find fascinating. So Vukic was responsible for our one loss yesterday, and after watching about 3 minutes of that match for Steve Johnson, it was crystal clear that Steve Johnson was going to get rocked. Vukic was absolutely not fucking around yesterday. He was hitting clean return winners, dominating the points from the baseline. He racked up 16 aces, serving huge. He had an ace every game. I mean, you never want to put too much stock into one performance like that from Vukic yesterday, or B, a revenge match, because revenge matches in tennis, those are really solid angles, because in a one-on-one sport like tennis, it's so hard to beat a guy multiple times in 1 week. Stevie looked a step slow. I think that was a lot of tennis for him to start the year, and he played well. He made some decent money. He got his year off to a good start, and then he just ran up against a buzzsaw yesterday. Vukic absolutely railed Stevie Johnson yesterday. I turned it on for 10 minutes and I turned it off. I was like, no chance Stevie comes back in that one. So this is interesting because this is Thanasi Kokkinakis' seventh match. It's going to be his seventh match in 8 days. He played his first match January 4th, and now he won 4 matches in the first tournament, or played 4 matches in the first tournament. This is going to be his third. This is his 7th match, and today's the 12th. 7th match in 8 days. Playing John Isner is not necessarily super physical because half of the points you don't even get to hit a ball, but he was still out there for well over 3 hours. And now Kokkinakis is playing a young bull who is in phenomenal shape, extremely strong, appears to be settling in quite nicely after he choked against Stevie in the previous tournament. He destroyed Alexander Vukic. Vukic destroyed Alexander Bublik, which is whatever, but it's still a confidence-building win. And I got to be honest with you, I really want to bet Vukic plus 170 underdog against Kokkinakis. I think that almost 2-1 for a guy. Kokkinakis is playing 7 matches in 8 days. Vukic was really, really good against Stevie J yesterday. We saw Kokkinakis fade against Monteiro. When he got fatigued, he went away. He lost that second set 6-0. So that was a great win for Kokkinakis, 6 in the third. I think over 23 games in this match is probably the best bet and probably the safest play. If you have success betting over-unders and you like betting over-unders, go ahead and just take that. But after our day yesterday, we have some money to play with. And Vukic is plus 2.5 games. Taking underdogs to cover a 2.5 game spread is not the smartest bet in the world, because like a 7-6, 6-4, or 7-5 scoreline is so common in ATP tennis that you don't want to be on Vukic plus 2.5 and have him lose, 6-4, 7-6, and then you lose that. I would be more prone to take Vukic as an underdog here, plus 170 for a small amount. After yesterday, 5-1, we've got a little money to play with. So I think I'm going to take a risk and back Vukic for a very, very small amount. There's no reason to take a major risk here, but almost 2-1 for Vukic in this spot. That's pretty good value. He seems to be gaining comfortability in these ATP situations. It's all relatively new to him. But the court in Adelaide is a little grittier than it was in, where were they playing? In Melbourne. So that's going to help him too. He definitely likes a little bit of more time so he can, set his feet on the forehand. He's hitting his forehand absolutely humongous. All right, so yeah, I think I'm going to be a small amount on Vukic plus 170. So moving on to ATP Sydney. Brandon Nakashima versus Reilly Opelka. Nakashima is minus 130 here. Nakashima has now won 2 consecutive matches, 7-6, 7-6. I think he's absolutely the rightful favorite in this matchup. It's good to see Opelka with a convincing win. But if you look at the matchup versus Jordan Thompson a little more closely, I really wanted to bet Opelka yesterday. I just couldn't because he was on that 2-6 stretch. And he was minus 170 on the money line. So there really wasn't a great bet. But against Jordan Thompson, Jordan Thompson, his best serve is undoubtedly his kick serve out wide. He is not a tall guy, but he's got a strong core, strong legs. He's got a live arm. He does a great job of getting that kick up and out of the strike zone. Jordan Thompson has a great kick serve, but Reilly's fucking 7 feet tall. So a Jordan Thompson kick serve doesn't get up on Reilly the way it would on someone who's normal height. So A, that was an advantage for Opelka. And B, Thompson hits way too many, just sort of roll it in, nothing burger balls, because Thompson does like defending and he likes counterpunching. You're never going to see Thompson come out and just play aggressive from start to finish and blow someone off the court. That's not his game. He likes to get into these cat and mouse points. He likes long points. He's in great shape. But if you do that against Opelka and you give him a nothing burger ball in the middle of the court with no pace on it, then you let a 7-foot guy set his feet and crack it from the middle of the court, and he could totally overpower you. So, Jordan Thompson let Reilly Opelka get a look at a few too many shots. And so, yeah, back to Brandon Nakashima or Nakasampras, as we like to call him now, just because his service motion looks a lot like Pete Sampras' service motion. I don't know what else to say. But he's serving amazing, and he won two matches, 7-6, 7-6. He has a world-class return of serve. His backhand return is one of the best in the world already. So Opelka is going to need to serve a high percentage because Nakashima will have no problem taking that backhand early. He is so good on the backhand side. So it's going to be interesting. I think this is a tough matchup for Opelka just because Nakashima has a tough game for big servers because he hardly gives you anything from the ground. He doesn't make very many errors. He's serving really well. He runs you off the court. So he gets the forehand, and I don't like that he hits a lot of his forehands off his back foot. I think that's something he needs to work on. But when he does hit it off the back foot, he does a really good job of pulling it cross court. So he's going to get Opelka on the run and force Opelka to hit good shots while on the run, which is not very easy, especially if you're 7 feet tall. I think Brandon Nakashima -1 is a good play. -130, I don't like that price, but -1 for like -110, depending on what you find it. I think that's a good play because if Nakashima beats Opelka, he's going to win by 1 game. You have to assume that Opelka gets his set, if he wins a set, it's probably going to be a tiebreak because no one seems to be breaking Nakashima right now. I like that bet, and I think it's worth a play. I think that there's a chance Nakashima he hasn't covered a spread in his last 2 matches, but he's played fine. Fognini played pretty well, and Nakashima was still able to get that done in straights. And Jiri Vesely's serve was just completely untouchable. So Nakashima hasn't covered his -2.5, and Reilly Opelka, beat Thompson by like 7 games yesterday. So I think there might be a little overreaction both ways, which makes, I think, Nakashima -1 a fair play. Moving on, Andy Murray versus David Goffin. So I said yesterday that if Goffin is able to beat Denis Kudla convincingly in straight sets, then I think you're going to be able to trust him moving forward. And what did he do? He went out and beat Denis Kudla convincingly in straight sets, 6-2, 6-3. I really, really want to take Goffin here because Murray played a over 3-hour match for Basilashvili. Basilashvili hits it huge, yanking Murray, side to side, tough on the metal hip. If you play David Goffin and you're a half step slow, he will expose you, and it's going to be a nightmare. But unfortunately, David Goffin has never beaten Andy Murray before. He's 0-6. And while head-to-head records are often misleading, and I don't even like to look at them, really, I like to watch their recent matches and assess how their games match up. It's just 0-6 is extremely comprehensive. With Goffin as a plus 130 underdog, I think it's a perfect chance to wait and bet this one live. If Murray starts, if you can just watch a few games and see how the hip is responding, the fact that Goffin is starting as an underdog will give you a chance to bet him live on a minus game spread if he is, in fact, moving Murray around and hitting a clean, solid ball. I am just done betting Andy Murray pre-match. I'm just not doing it. I've said this almost every day this week. If you bet Andy Murray pre-match and then you see him, a step slow, banging on his hip, yelling, clearly not physically right, you really do feel like you just took a wad of cash and lit it on fire. Losing in tennis betting is one thing. Losing when you bet pre-match on a 34-year-old with a fucking metal hip is something completely different, and it's a little tougher to deal with mentally when you think Murray's got it and he doesn't have it and he can't move, and then you just feel so stupid. So I'm not betting Andy Murray pre-match. I'm just not doing it. I'm going to wait and look to take Goffin live in this one. Even if Murray does get up an early break, then I just think Goffin is a good live spot here. Anything Murray pre-match is just not worth it. Next up, we have Aslan Karatsev versus Lorenzo Sonego. So we got a little lucky with Karatsev yesterday against Kecmanovic. The rain delay definitely helped him cover his -2.5 game spread. This is just a good match. I mean, these guys are both of them are kind of tough to predict how they're going to play. Sonego's serve is extremely effective. This one's just tough, man. This one's tough. We have Karatsev -1. I honestly have no prediction either way for this one. I'm not that good at picking, Lorenzo Sonego. He's certainly a tougher player to predict. His level goes very up and down. He's a very emotional player. A lot of times, super emotional players, it's the name of the game. If you're emotional on the court, you're going to have high highs, you're going to have low lows. Just based on the conditions here, I think that Karatsev should have an advantage on the quick hard court with these lively balls. Like, his flat strike is so effective, and he's keeping it so deep. And with Sonego, he's got a lot of action on his forehand, and his forehand's awesome. But he really does have, a pretty big swing, and he goes from low to high really, really quickly on the forehand and hits it with a lot of juice. But if Karatsev is stepping up, taking the ball early and hitting it deep, that's going to be tough for Sonego to consistently time over and over again. If I had to pick, I would pick Karatsev -1. I think that there's a decent chance Karatsev hits another, there's a decent chance Karatsev wins this tournament. And there's a decent chance Sonego wins it too. I mean, whoever wins this match has a very good chance to win Sydney. So this is a quarter. Oh, it's sort of quarterfinal, but sort of looking like a final in a way. If I had to pick, I would pick Karatsev. Later on in the day, I'm going to see how that price goes. I might make a small bet on Karatsev -1, but once again, I don't think anything is a tremendous play. Sonego can totally get hot and frustrate Karatsev, and he get in his face, come on, and then Karatsev gets pissed. Karatsev is prone to these stretches where he sort of goes, fuck it, I'll find the range, but I'm going to rip it. And if he doesn't find the range, then, he can lose 3 games in a row. No problem. He does that a little too often to be taking too many minus game spreads with him. But I think it will come down to, I do like the matchup on this quick surface with Karatsev super low and flat strike. It's going to be, if he's hitting that well, it might be tough for Sonego to time. But it's going to be really hard for Karatsev to break Sonego too, because Sonego's got a big second and a huge first, and Karatsev takes it so early that it's going to be interesting to see. If I had to pick, I would pick Karatsev. So next up, I do like a women's match today, a fair amount. Alison Riske -2 games over Madison Brengle. I just like this. Again, we have the conditions we got a super fast court, lively balls. You don't have to hit these balls very hard for them to go do a lot of damage. You just have to get it out in front with your weight going forward and staying aggressive the whole time. So Madison Brengle has never beaten Alison Riske. And while that honestly doesn't matter that much, because anyone can beat anyone on any given day, these courts reward clean, aggressive ball striking. After a few tough years with injury, Alison Riske is finally healthy. I know for certain that she is in a lot better spirits, which is great because she's one to, get down on herself for sure. But I think this is a really good spot for her, -2 games over Brengle. I don't think we're going to be seeing Madison Brengle in the semis or the finals of any tournaments, any WTA level tournaments anytime soon. But most importantly, Brengle's serve is so bad with that hook. It's just not a good serve. And so you have Riske stepping up in the court. She's going to get a look at a lot of clean, second serve returns that are just sitting there. And over time, I expect her to find the range and, hit those flat, deep strikes. It's going to be tough. I wouldn't want to play Riske on these courts with Brengle's serve, that's for sure. So I think that's a solid play. I'm definitely going to add that one. I like that play more than I like any of the ATP plays. So let's break down the picks for today. And I've been telling you guys all week to cut the stakes in half, cut them in half again, and that goes especially for today. Yesterday was an attackable slate. We said from the start that it was a great slate. It was a good day to make money. We went 5-1. That's fantastic. I would not expect a record like that today. I think you need to get on Cressy -2.5 over Lajovic. Cressy's in the zone. Anytime you can bet on a tennis player who's just in the fucking zone, It's a good chance to do so. Roman Safin, -2.5, -3 over Eubanks. I have a -2. You should have had that yesterday, so that one's going to count for today. I'm going to be on Corentin Moutet -2.5, small. I'm going to be on Nakashima -1, small. And I'm going to be on Alexander Vukic +170, very small again. But yeah, Kokkinakis after his 3-hour match last night, he's playing a very fit and strong player. I think Vukic is a pretty decent underdog in this matchup. I think +170 is probably a little too high. I think Kokkinakis is getting a lot of love from the bookmakers, and understandably so. So yeah, that's what I'm on. Vukic +170. Or if you don't want to take the +170, I might even make this public pick. I might change it to Vukic +2.5, just to give me a little margin for error and try and pump the record up. But personally, I think +170 is decent value, so I'm going to be on that. But I'll probably tweet out a Vukic +2.5. Nakashima -1. Corentin Moutet -2.5, and then we have carryover from yesterday. Roman Safin -2, Maxime Cressy -2.5 over Dusan Lajovic, and then Alison Riske -2 games over Madison Brengle. I think those are pretty solid bets. So yesterday, obviously fun day. It's good that happened. Don't expect that to keep happening. Tennis betting's a fickle beast, but it was exciting. To get really hot one day, and I think a lot of people were tailing yesterday, so I'm happy about that. That's gonna do it for me. Let's get this off and uploaded to the YouTubes. As always, follow me at Kale_Hammond on Twitter. Reach out to me. I love talking to people about picks and stuff, and I love talking tennis. So reach out to me. Don't just slide in the DMs. I will try and get back to you for sure. And yeah, let's have some fun. Hopefully we can win some money. But once again, today is a much more difficult slate. So whatever you were staking yesterday, I would drop them a little bit for today. We made some money yesterday. No reason to blow it on a difficult looking slate. Thanks so much, guys, and best of luck.